Live right now. So it should be live as
Right.
we are speaking. Let me refresh my other tab.
Yeah, make sure.
Maybe. Oh, yes. Okay, great. So we are live. Whew. And what a time this is about to be.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Hi, Nana.
Nana's already here. Yay. Okay, well, as people trickle in, I'll just start to say a couple things that are a little more casual. First of all, happy Easter to those who celebrate. Sorry that we're going to spend it talking about the most scandalous family in all of Catholic history.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I just said as one does.
Yep, as Juan does. So stupid.
Oh
And Nana's the only one here, and she's like, I don't even get these jokes. I don't know who these people are. So that's great. And then also, this isn't warnings about the triggers, which we will get into, but I am a dad. I love dad jokes. Wait, how do I? Oh, and Yulia's here too. I love a dad joke. No, I was also going to say just like a blanket statement that Helen and I are not Renaissance historians. Everything we say is just out of our own curiosity and passion, and we might get some things wrong. So
most
please
definitely we will.
show us grace if we say something that's just like not even close to correct. It just might happen that way. So yeah. So that's the other thing. Yeah. Don't know why I said pleasant. I just wanted to be dramatic.
I like that.
We want the pleasant live show too. I think it will be very pleasant. Yeah. And then I guess I'll get into the trigger warnings because we won't be talking about things in like explicit detail, but a lot went on with this family, both historically and fictionally. So things that will definitely come up in conversation are incest and murder, and most likely also rape and miscarriage and grief and loss of a family member, potentially torture, a lot of heavy stuff. So if anyone needs to like check out or like watch this back later and fast forward through that kind of stuff, like no offense taken. Take care of yourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
So here, I'll hold up our two books that we had. So we read Blood and Beauty by Sarah Dunant.
Yeah.
And our nonfiction was Lucrezia Borgia. I don't have the little subtitle, but isn't it like Life, Love, and Death in Renaissance Italy? Sarah Bradford. And we both watched all 3 seasons of the Borgias.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, I did not watch the other Borgia TV show. Did you watch it at all?
No.
I couldn't find anywhere to stream it.
I think I started it a long time ago and I watched like 2 episodes and I didn't really like it. Like when I was like 12 or something, which was way too young to be watching it. But
yeah, I wouldn't have wanted you to watch it when you were 12. I don't even know what happens on that show, but just I assume not so much. So yeah, lots to talk about. And what a wild ride. Okay, where do we even want to start?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I just have to say I read the ebook version of Blood and Beauty and the audiobook version of the nonfiction. So I don't have like, I can't be like quotes like this on this page, whatever. I think this is just going to be like relaxed sort of fun discussion.
Yeah, same. These are both library copies, so it's not like I was annotating or anything. I just happen to have them here because they're sturdy and I can be like, and just gesture with them.
Yeah, I'll just be using hand gestures.
Yeah, we love a good hand gesture. Can I tell you what I learned today about the Borgias TV show?
Let's
I
hear it.
did not realize that it was canceled. So the ending that we perceived as the ending wasn't even necessarily what they intended to be the ending, just the ending of the season.
Oh my goodness. But it's a good ending though. I felt
It
like
works.
it was an ending. Like it felt so like, because I think from reading the nonfiction, there was so much that, like, after that section in their lives, it just goes downhill. Like, Alexander isn't the Pope anymore. I was just about to say spoilers, but I mean,
spoilers for history.
But and then Cesare dies, and like it's just not fun. Like it's a hard time. So I felt like it was good because it's like you have this sort of like feeling that maybe Cesare will be the Pope, maybe all this stuff will work out for their family, but like in reality, like if they had continued and actually followed like historical facts.
Big downer. Yeah. It's like I don't even know what they would have done.
I know.
Next, because I was finishing the nonfiction as I was like watching the end of season 3, and I kept being like, is their dad gonna die? Is their dad gonna die? Because I had just gotten to that, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess everyone lives through the show.
Who's gonna die? Someone's gonna die, but no one died.
No, Juan was a sacrifice that we were willing to make.
Which we're so happy about.
Oh my gosh. I mean, first of all, the only thing I miss about Juan is hearing Lucrezia call him Juan. I don't know why she says his name like that. Yeah, but wow, what a guy. And I have to say, I think whoever wait, which of the authors did you say worked on the show somewhat?
The one, oh my gosh, the nonfiction one, Sarah Bradford. She worked on it.
Okay, interesting. Because one of the things I was going to say was I feel like writers for the show kind of adapted some of history to be like, well, let's take that bad thing that Cesare did and make Juan do it because we already don't like him.
Or like the whole like syphilis like storyline. It's like no, not for Cesare.
And like the affair with Sancha, his sister-in-law.
Yes.
Like that was Cesare.
I hated Cesare in Blood and Beauty.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Caterina Sforza, I was like, you're the worst person I've ever met in my whole, not Caterina, Cesare. I'm like, I hate you. Get out of here. I don't want to see you ever again. You are so evil.
It was bad. Okay, so wait, should we give our overall impressions of these books? Because I want to talk about this, but I think one we rated similarly, one we rated a little differently. So so go ahead and share your feelings first.
So I'll start with the nonfiction because I feel like I have less complicated thoughts.
Yeah.
For the nonfiction, I rated it 3 stars. So I liked it. And there were, I think at the beginning and I guess like the first half and then the last like quarter. So for 3/4 of the book, I was like, this is like a 4-star. Like, I really like this. This is like, you know, I'm getting into it. I feel like I'm getting enough of history, but I still feel like intrigued. And I think I saw a lot of complaints and ratings like, oh, she used too many like quotes. Like, it's so dry. And I was like, but it's nonfiction. So, and I liked she incorporated, it wasn't just like this person said this and paraphrasing a bunch. It was like this person literally said this and we have direct proof that they said this. So I thought that was fascinating. But the parts where it started being like Lucrezia has 2 husbands and they're both named Alfonso, and I was like, I just lost you. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. I also rated the nonfiction 3 stars. I totally agree. Like, I loved reading letters. I was like, can you believe we know what this person actually wrote to someone else? Like, that's crazy. And I love that little tidbit. It was the most random part of the whole book, but when she talked about how Lord Byron like was reading Lucrezia's
Yes.
love letters to her lover,
Yeah.
and then he stole a lock of her hair.
I
He was like,
know.
this is the most romantic, and I was like, wow.
I love that. Was
wild.
So interesting.
Yeah, that was cool. So I liked that aspect. I agree. I literally missed when she went from being married to the first Alfonso to the
Me
second
too.
Alfonso in the nonfiction. And so I was like, when does she get married again? Like, I thought she was
know.
going to marry the other guy who was her lover. And then I looked back at the family tree and I was like, oh, she's already on her third husband. When did that
Yeah.
happen? So that was not the best. And yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, does she get married 3 times in the show?
No, only twice.
Yeah, because I think they
But
combined
they skipped her middle.
Alfonsos.
Maybe,
So,
actually,
I
because
think
she
they
does
did.
like him in
Yeah,
the show.
because like her first Alfonso in real life is supposed to be like this younger guy that she really gets along with, and they really like each other.
They did
And
that.
then the second Alfonso is the one that has like his bloodline or whatever that's in the show. So
and they're the ones who are like, don't bring your baby here. And she's like, no.
So that really confused me because I was like, what?
Yeah.
They combined them in the show, so I was watching that, and then in the book, it's like, but they're 2 different people, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. And I guess, I mean, again, spoilers for, no, not spoilers for history, but spoilers for the show. In a sense, both of them, not both of the Alfonsos, but her real life husband, Alfonso, and the one in the show, both were murdered. So I'm like, that's consistent, but only with half of the Alfonsos.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing they only made one because
yeah, no, I'm glad I'm glad they paraphrased history there.
Yeah, that was a wise one. But then again, if they had gotten a season 4, like what would they have done? Just been like, yeah, stay married to him. Although maybe they would have introduced the poet and her lover. Like that would have been good.
Yeah. And also I'm thinking for the show, like the only like the logical from what we get with the last scene, we're like, okay, now you're just gonna do the next season as like a canon incest ship the whole time. Like I feel like, I mean, you can do it, but I just feel like how would you get like good once people like lose that sort of like this is taboo, like will they do it, won't they do it? That's just like they're just siblings that are having sex.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, like that was kind of the season 3 arc was like, oh my god, is this happening?
Yeah.
And then it did happen, and so we're all just like, okay. It's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, wouldn't have been the strongest. So that's our feelings mostly on the nonfiction. Wait, was I going to say one more thing about that? Oh, I was also going to say, I think it was like paced kind of weirdly because for the most part it was chronological. And then like at some points she would just go on a tangent and she'd be like, oh, and here's the kind of food they liked in Italy. Oh, by the way, this is the history of her mom. And I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Tell me that.
Yeah.
And it fits.
Yeah.
That was a little weird.
And I think also it's interesting because she has another book about Cesare. So I thought I was wondering how much of that would overlap because sometimes she would go into what Cesare was doing. And I was like, I had the Cesare book on my TBR, but then I was like, I feel like it'll just be the same thing.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that I was going to make that complaint that like for a book titled Lucrezia Borgia, it was just kind of like the history of the Borgia.
Yeah.
But then I like try to be a little lenient because I'm like, okay, we know there's just like more documented about her male relatives than about her. Yeah. So like I'm trying to cut you some slack because it's just hard to find like primary sources.
Yeah.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, but then Blood and Beauty.
Yes.
As you said, Cesare is really unlikable in this book.
I hate him.
Which, okay, I said in my Goodreads review, that's like one sentence. I was like, I hated him, but maybe that's like a good thing that I stopped over romanticizing Cesare and Borgia. Like, not a good guy. But very different than the Cesare on the show that we
Sorry, I'm appreciate. I love him.
I know. So go ahead, back to, your thoughts.
But yeah, so I gave it 2.5 stars just because, like, part of the reason I loved, well, I actually started watching the show because of you, and this is the whole reason the book club started, is because I saw this, like, siblings.
Yeah.
More. Yeah, I really, sorry, I lost my train of thought completely. Yeah, part of the reason I liked watching the show, it just that it was so, like, fun, and it was, like, fun to follow, and, like, obviously there were, like, intense, weird moments, but, like, violence and everything, so that wasn't fun, but it was just, like, you sort of have this weird relationship from the siblings from the get-go, so you're, like, the very first scene, you're sort of like, what is going on? Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. But with the book, it's just sort of like you just feel bad for all the females. Female? That I just sounded like one of those. all the women. I don't know why I use that term, but all the women that are around Cesare, you're just like, and around the Pope, you're just like, whatever. Like, I don't care about any of you. And then you sort of lose that, like, element of, like, the sibling and caring about the sibling relationship. And when there is that actual moment of, like, Cesare kisses Lucrezia, you're like, this is so, like, get away. Which is, I mean, it's good, Yeah. I'm not yeah, anyways,
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Cara. Hi.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Like, I hated it and I liked it for that reason. Like, I was glad that I was, like, grossed out by Rodrigo, because I'm like, Jeremy Irons is, like, kind of a handsome man. He's not really, like, pudgy. So I'm like, I want him to be creepier, and he felt creepier in the book. Yeah, and book Blood and Beauty, Cesare just felt was really predatory, and like his relationship with Lucrezia felt like very groomed to me in a way that I didn't like. Like, in the show, I mean, obviously, again, we're talking about a situation that we don't condone in real life.
Yes, 100%.
But in the show, there's, like, this mutual tension and this, like, always two-sided, like, will they, won't they, like, who's the one holding back this time. Whereas in the book, it was just like, can you leave your sister alone? Like, I feel bad.
I just wanted her to be happy. Whereas, like, in the show, Cesare is who makes her happy. So, like, you're rooting for her in a different, like, you're rooting for their relationship in a different way, because it's not just like she's being pursued by her creepy sibling. It's like there's this weird, like, undertone that's very uncomfortable, but
also this. I think Julia was really interesting in the book. Lucrezia was really interesting. Their mom, Venosa, how do you say her name? She was really interesting in the book, like, with her little vineyard. I was like, you're fun.
And anytime they were, like, I think this is the main reason I rated it so, like, low, was anytime they would go to Cesare's battles, I would just almost immediately literally fall asleep. It would be so hard for me to get through them. I was just like, I don't care. I just don't care. Like,
I hate battle scenes. I can barely stand to, like, watch them, and they go faster when you're watching them. But on page, I'm like, look, I just need to know who wins. Let's call it a day. Yeah, so that was something. However, I did rate it a little bit higher than you, just for I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I gave it 3.5 stars. I was surprised that I liked it being written in present tense, because I've hated that in other books, and I liked it in this one, and I don't know why. I think she had, like, a nice turn of phrase. Like, I think things were worded well. There wasn't like sentences where I was like, wow, I'm gonna jot down that quote and remember it forever. But, like, the way she described things, I was like, yeah, Sarah. Are these both Sarahs? Wow, that's funny. I keep forgetting that. So I liked those aspects of it, but there are some plot things that I would have changed, and they lessened my enjoyment. So So, yeah, I think we need to go back then to Cesare and Caterina Sforza, because that's where I totally changed the subject, but now we're ready to fully dive in to how much we hated that. So much.
That was, I just, I just think if we're comparing it to the television show, like, I didn't like Cesare's actions in that either. But I think because if they're trying to show this sort of, he's being very sort of like predatory and like viewing her completely as an object, they did it in a way that was so much less violating of her as a woman. I mean, it's still gross, and I don't think it's like, you know, that's fine. Like, that's great that they put her in a cage, like, so fun. But like compared to the book, that's just like so like disgusting. Like, it was,
it was really bad. And it's so weird to me that for a character who, like, well, as a historical figure who, like, was actually known to be like that fierce, like described as a virago, like, I love that. Whatever all her nicknames were, she had a ton that were mostly not kind, but I love them. Like, for that kind of character to be shown still that way and then put in a situation that totally just is like, oh, you thought we were being feminists? Like, here's this scene. Hated it. Really hated it. And it was weird because she, like, tried to imply that there was, like, some dubious thing that Katerina was, like, playing a mind game. And I was like, this doesn't seem like a mind game. This seems bad, and I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing I saw, like, people were saying about the author, they were like, yeah, she like narrates like these great feminist puts a feminist spin on history. I was like, no. I don't want to hear that ever. I mean, you know, I don't know. It was just, it was not for me.
And it would have been, I think, a different situation had that been like historically accurate, more so. Like that part specifically, but I did my research. I was like, what happened at that battle? What happened when she was prisoner? And there's like no account of any tomfoolery. So I was like, okay, well, now we're just throwing it in for fun, but it's not fun. It's the opposite of fun. So hated it.
I did not like it.
I did like where, well, actually, this is gonna diverge my thoughts, so let me just get this sentence out first. I liked the little Lucrezia, what was his name? Pablo? That was sweet. I really liked that.
What's his name? That.
I'm gonna find his name. Because that was just like sweet, and I felt like Lucrezia needed that in this book where oh wait, what is Kara saying?
Yeah, I know. I really need to read her comments because she has thoughts.
Appreciate how Lucrezia was characterized, since it seems that's much closer to how she really was than what she's saying. Yes, I think Blood and Beauty did a good job of like showing her like pious side, which is mentioned a lot in the nonfiction and goes right out the window in the show. She's like, God, don't know him. Like, he might be my dad's boss, but I've never heard of him. Like, what?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting how they had her at the convent and they really showed, different elements of her character. So I do like the way she was written. I just don't like how all the interactions between the female characters and the male characters are written. Even like with Julia and the Pope, like that was like so weird. Like, the whole description of her hair at the beginning, I was like, I don't need to know why that gets in the way when you guys are doing your thing. Like,
if anything, it just made me go, why didn't they give her like 12 feet of hair in the show? Like, I know, made her like Rapunzel. That would have been so fun. Yes, okay, it was Pedro. But yeah, I did not need to know the details of like where her hair was landing during their relations. So, that was one of the things that annoyed me about the author, though, because she took historically questionable things and decided what to add based on what would be worse for Lucrezia. That is fair. I think it was a lot of like, let's make Lucrezia happy. Now let's take it away. And it like, at least in the show, like when she gets happy and then whatever made her happy is gone, like usually that's like when Cessary's there to like comfort her and it's like, oh yay. But in the book, it's like she's like, no, 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 don't even look at me. So that
And
didn't work.
I just want to, before I forget, I want to touch on, I saw this one review before I read Blood and Beauty that was like, there's implied incest. I was like, what about siblings kissing is implied? I feel like that's pretty literal.
It's not implied. It's there on the page. Yeah.
I just thought
true.
that was funny.
Yeah. Because I think in, like, even historically, there's, you know, like enough context of them being like, oh, I love you. You're the dearest person to me. Like, I love you more than myself. Da, 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 da. Which, you know, in any context could be something different. But yeah, that is not so implied to be like, and they kissed. That was a thing. And what was I gonna say? Oh, I feel like, see, I was glad I read the nonfiction before the fiction because like it helped me keep things straight. But also now I feel like I've kind of forgotten, or I'm like conflating fiction with the facts that I already read. So, but I just don't understand why the show made, what's her first husband's name? Sforza. Why they made him the worst ever.
I know.
When he like wasn't, he wasn't the best, but he wasn't the worst.
I mean, I feel like that's just so
Giovanni.
Giovanni. So we feel like when she leaves, she has like another reason to go for her brother because he's already a man she trusts and she's had this really bad experience. So I feel like it's definitely for that sort of like plot convenience of like, let's just make every other man like horrible to Lucrezia, except for Alfonso, who's just a bit of like a spineless person that doesn't stand up for her. And then
jellyfish husband.
Yeah. He gets on my nerves so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think actually that the show kind of, like with you saying that, it just makes me think like they gave her that horrible start to like marriage and womanhood, if you will, just like as almost like an excuse to be like, oh, well, she can be hypersexual now because she's had this trauma. And so she's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, historically, it seems like she would have just been like praying about it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't know.
Because then we get that justification for why she's like, we're like, okay, now she's allowed to go with, I don't think his name was Pedro in the,
I think it was
Paolo. Yeah. So with Paolo, she's allowed now to go off with him because she's had this bad experience. So that makes it okay. And now we can feel sympathetic with her, whereas before, if she was just having an affair or just having sex before marriage or whatever, we would have been like, oh, well, that's like scandalous, like she's not allowed to do that, like all that stuff. So I feel like it was like, yeah, I don't know.
True. But then again, and like I say this as someone who's like, one of my favorite books is Romeo and Juliet, right? Like little babies in love who had sex and then died, right? But I continually cannot wrap my mind around the fact that at the beginning of the show, and literally in her first marriage, she's supposed to be 14 years old. 14.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
It makes everything so confused in my brain.
Yeah. Especially with Cesare then, because you're thinking he's not, like, I don't think he's a minor, because she has Juan, and then and then Cesare. So I think he's like, that's,
I think, let me double check actually. I think there's about like a 4 or so year age difference between Lucrezia.
And I mean, I guess we didn't have minors in Renaissance Italy, but just age gap
But
in general.
that's still quite young. I mean, yeah, we saw Joffrey get married off. Hello. So weird. I hate it.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah, yes, okay. 4 years difference, and then Juan was kind of in the middle, but closer to Cesare. Yeah, but the age thing is so weird. And again, that's just like a part of, like we say this in our Past It Classics live shows. It's like we expect levels of nonsense that are not appropriate now just because of the time period.
Yeah.
But it's still like, oh my God, is this necessary?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think Mary Margaret said it best. The ages for marriage back then are just ew.
Yes.
Don't like it.
Oh my. And just to go back to that, like with Joffrey, one of like the worst scenes in the show for me is when Joffrey's in that room and he's like sleeping or whatever, and then in the corner you have Juan and Sancha, and I'm just like, no, please get it off the screen. My eyes are burning.
And then she immediately goes into Joffrey's room, and I'm like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, so uncomfy.
Yes.
I guess I'm glad in a way that they like casted a slightly older woman for Julia than they did like for what her age should have been, which is closer to Lucrezia. But wow, what a mess.
Yes.
I'm like, what else did I even have on my mind? I'm just so distracted now. I'm like 14. She was 14.
Yeah,
Especially, I'm sorry, like considering the very first scene with Cesare, and then she's like, hey, and then it's like, what? You're 14? That's your brother?
Oh my goodness.
So many questions, comments, and concerns, But what a time.
I know. It is a time.
Yeah. I kind of wish, maybe, no, wait, what was it? In the nonfiction book, I forget who or what they were talking about, but they had specifically mentioned Cantarella, and I was like, they talk about Cantarella all the time on the show, and I got so excited, and I feel like there should have been more poison in Blood and Beauty. Poison's a more exciting murder.
And I think maybe that comes in because there's a second book in like the duology or whatever, which I'm not going to read. Are you going to read?
I might read it. Probably not soon, but I might.
Maybe that comes in, but I just thought like the whole thing with, even though the Borgias TV series was canceled, I thought that it felt like it came full circle.
Yeah.
That last scene, like even the last exact shot where like her husband is like in front of her dead, and then Cesare is like wiping the blood off her face, like, you're mine.
Yeah.
Like this is so much symbolism for the entire, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Literally that comes full circle with like everything in the show, with like Lucrezia and Cesare and their just weird codependency, and like the poison, which has been a theme literally also since the first episode. And it like kind of, not historically accurately, but like does kind of conclude Lucrezia's arc that we saw for the season of her being like, well, now I'm independent and I know things about medicine. I don't know. That was like a kind of weird thing that they gave her. She was like, I'll save my dad from being poisoned. Yeah, just thought she could do that forever. Yeah. Also, that other, who were they? Her brothers-in-law or her cousins-in-law, the two kings who she like trusted the wrong one in season 3.
Oh yeah,
that was nasty. That like blood. Ugh.
Oh my, I know. That is so, oh my gosh.
I total respect for the commitment to like faking your own poisoning, but wow, couldn't be me.
Oh my gosh, that was so, and honestly, I really liked that whole like plot line for some reason. I thought it was really well done, that it's like she like has these people that she's like decide, and they're also siblings, which like I feel like siblings are just a big theme in that show in general, where it's like, who do you trust? And like, I don't know, it was good.
Yeah, and I like that too, that it was like Lucrezia trying to play the game for herself, which, you know what? Let's pull up Blood and Beauty again. Is something that I did like about this book was I think they addressed like a couple times, almost literally in words, like, who is Lucrezia outside of being Lucrezia Borgia? And I was like, yes, that is something I want to talk about. Thank you for addressing it. So I like that the show was trying to do that too, even though it went in a more like saucy direction. That it was like, who could she be when she's making her own choices, you know? Like, you know, when she tells her dad, like, I don't want to get married again. I will. But I didn't want to.
Yes.
He tried.
Yeah. I also apologize if I have 0 brain cells right now, because I literally just got back home. So for anyone watching,
you're doing amazing. Okay. You showed right up and you're like, here is all the thoughts.
Sorry, but you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say something totally random, which was when I was watching her, Lucrezia, playing chess with the one brother who she was like, get out of here. I was like, who is this guy? He looks familiar. And he was the guy in, do you remember If I Stay? The movie, well, it's a book, but it had a movie with like Chloe Grace Moretz. That was that guy, like the boyfriend in that movie. And I was like, oh, that's why he looks familiar. So that's my fun.
That is so random. I just remember getting like extremely excited when I saw Francois Arnaud, or however you pronounce his name, in Schitt's Creek. I was like, Julia,
look who it is,
Canadian.
yeah, because he's French Canadian.
Oh my gosh!
Learning that, I was like, wait, so his accent in this whole show has been fake? You lied to me. You're like an actor.
And then I immediately like looked up his age to see if I could date him legally.
How old is he?
He's like 30. I'm like, that's a bit. 10 years is slightly. I'm only 20.
But I'm about to be 28.
I know.
So Francois hit me up.
Moved to Canada. He lives near one of my friends. We can go and like.
Perfect. It's a plan. I'm down. Won't even know what hit him. I'll just show up. And I'm like,
Cesare Borgia is the plot twist of this live stream.
Yeah. And then like years into our marriage, he's like on my YouTube channel. He's like, what's this video of you talking about the Borgias for an hour? Oh, don't worry about it. It's just a little something fun we did back in the day. That'd be wild. Can we talk about, we kind of talked about her a little bit, but Caterina Sforza, what an icon.
I love her.
That is the moment for the highlight of this. Just both of us going, I love her.
Yes. I wish we could do like another of these just on Cantarina. I was trying to say Cantarella and Caterina Sforza. Like, I need her to have a mini series about like how she grew up, and like I just think the most iconic thing was in the show when she like lifts up her dress and she's like, I can make 100 more children, and then that actually happened in history.
Okay, and listen. So here's what I read, was not that she actually lifted up the skirt, but that was like the rumor at the time.
Yes.
But that she was like, joke's on you, you can kill my sons, but I'm pregnant right now, or like something.
Okay.
Said. But like, we don't know how much that was accurate. Like, she might have. She might have. I love her. That truly is the most iconic scene to me in the whole show. Like, when I started rewatching it, because the people don't know this, but Helen knows this. I had previously watched seasons 1 and 2 like forever ago, and I was like, I'll start rewatching it. What a great time. And then when I got to season 3, I was like, was this not out when I watched it? Because I've never seen any of this. But like from the beginning, I was like waiting for that scene because I remember it so vividly. Like, what a queen.
Yeah.
I love her.
It's just, that's another thing that I really like about the show is like, the side characters and side villains like have a lot of like, I don't know, just depth, and like they're written well, like a lot of them. So like I don't know, I think a lot of shows just with their side characters really take like a lazier route and just like, you know, don't write them that well. But like I felt like it was just so good. Like even like the villain, like Katarina isn't just someone we hate. She's like someone we actually really like.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Was I think that's one of the most interesting things about having the scandalous Borgias as your protagonists, is that like sometimes we're like, I think your villain is right though. Like,
yeah,
they make some valid points.
Yeah.
Like Della Rovere, I wasn't excited about him, but I'm like, he's right. You're not a very good pope. Like, maybe he should be pope over you.
Yeah,
I don't know. But not my favorite name to say, Savonarola. He was just crazy. That was the one who was like burning everything. Remember him?
Yeah, I was like, get out of here. That made me, all those scenes made me so angry. I was like, I just want you gone. Like, I don't.
You know, the best thing that did come out of those scenes, though, was the introduction of Machiavelli, my other favorite side character. Yes. I was like, you're crazy, and I like you, buddy.
Yes.
I don't know.
I totally agree. Completely. I'm very glad.
Like, he didn't even do anything for the show, really. Just every time he was there, I was like, it's Machiavelli. And then one time they mentioned, like, Da Vinci, and I was like, oh, this is Da Vinci's studio that we're in. He's not even here. But that was exciting. Oh, wait, you know who is not relevant to the books? Kind of relevant to Blood and Beauty. But we haven't talked about show-wise. Nicoletto. Sweet guy. I say sweet guy, he's like a literal assassin. I know. Sweet boy. Oh.
I know. I felt so bad for him. And like I mean, if they weren't planning to cancel the show, they might have brought him back in season 4. So I can't completely say it's like a bury your gays trope.
True.
And I'm glad he wasn't dead. But at the same time, I'm like, he's the only LGBTQ plus character, and then he just disappears at the end and doesn't seem to have a happy ending. So I mean, maybe his happy ending is that he gets away from the Borgias, but I just had to
literally kill his boyfriend to do it. So I don't know.
I know, that was like, oh my gosh, that was so like traumatic for me. I was like, what is going on right now?
Yeah. Oh wait, Kara's got knowledge that I don't have, so I want to share it. Something I thought was weird in the nonfiction is the author would quote Machiavelli, but not mention that the prince was probably a satire. See, that is something that I guess I can leave that up. I don't know why I made it disappear so fast. Well, I do want to read The Prince now. I added it on Goodreads. Like, anytime I read something historical, like I need a professor there with me. I'm like, I'm either taking this at face value or like you're gonna tell me it's not. Because like I read The Taming of the Shrew and I'm like, William, I love you. This is sexist. Get out of here. Like I can't interpret it any way than what I read it.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I'm so literal about things.
Yeah. So that's good to know when I eventually read it, that it's probably satire. But that also like changes. Oh, Sarah's here. Hi. Yeah, but so that will like change my perspective of it. And that definitely affects the nonfiction book because she was quoting it like, and he thought Cesare was the best. And it's like, well, maybe not.
Maybe not. Because then if it's satire, it completely changes that section of it.
Yeah, for real.
Maybe Sarah Bradford just thinks Cesare is the best, so she...
Honestly, I think she kind of does. Yeah. I think Sarah Bradford was a big Cesare stan, and that Sarah Dunant, not so much.
No.
But again, like, I think it's good that she made me not like Cesare and take a back seat and be like, look at this man. Look at his actions, you buffoon. Not a good person. Like,
you can't
stand needed a little bit of that.
Played by a French Canadian.
Yeah. Oh, look at, I love all these thoughts. Not universally agreed on. but it's a strong argument, so it could be satire. And yeah. Oh my gosh, I did the same thing. The number of times I had Wikipedia open while reading both of these books, I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
just want those sweet, sweet facts, you know? And sometimes they're hard to process. Oh wait, that reminds me. I wanted to how do you spell Micheletto? Oh, Corella. And now I know his last name. I wanted to see him like historically because I can't even remember him being mentioned in the nonfiction, like maybe a little bit. Okay, yeah, wait, he was real. He was real. He was real. Okay. So he was known as Valentino's executioner. So
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think in the show that Micheletto actually was like in love with Cesare or like had like feelings for him of some sort?
It's hard to say because I do know there's people who ship it out there on the internet. And I do think they had an incredibly like close relationship.
Yeah.
Like obviously like the way Cesare trusted him was kind of unlike anyone else.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I can't do this right now.
Cesare was like so upset when he left, and that just made my heart. I was like, okay, Cesare actually does care for someone else other than Lucrezia.
Yeah.
And it just made me happy that they were like friends. Like, I'm totally okay with them being friends. I just didn't, because I don't know. I have a hard time because I don't want to write everything off as like, oh, they have a really strong connection, so they must be like, there must be romantic feelings, because that's like not the case at all. There can be like very strong platonic bonds, but like, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. It's so complicated.
Yeah, I think regardless of like whatever kind of love it was, I think there was a major bond there. That was beautiful. Like I just remember him, Chester, like storming out and being like, "Who could be as loyal as him?" And I was like, "No."
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, and Wikipedia also says that it's thought that they were to be close friends since childhood, which is very sweet. And they accompanied each other during their studies at the University of Pisa. Oh my gosh, wait, sorry. Just saying Pisa, not sure why that reminded me because it was like geographical. I've said this in the past and I kept thinking about this as I was reading all of this stuff. Like, I don't know how you and every other person can like exist in Europe and just like function. Like, I would see an old building and like I would start crumbling. Like if I ever went to the Tiber River, I would like put my hands down and I'd be like, think of all the bodies that came out.
Oh my goodness.
Like Juliet, I'd be so extra.
I'm so like, I literally was at like this old farmhouse today, like this old cheese factory, and I was running with a sheep, like a border collie sheepdog, and I was like the happiest I've ever been because I was like, I am from a Jane Austen novel. I'm wearing a corset. Look at me. Like I was like, I just have daily like happy panic attacks, like happy attacks. Like I don't know how I exist either.
Yeah, I would just be freaking out all the time.
Yes.
It's so crazy. And it just, I mean, like, I've always wanted to go to Italy because I'm a Shakespeare nerd and all of his plays take place there. So, you know, that's just been like on my bucket list. Plus, hello, I'm a millennial. I've seen the Lizzie McGuire movie. Of course I want to go to Italy, right?
Yes.
But now, like, I feel like I'll be able to know all these like city names. I'll be like, oh, you've never heard of, I can't even think of somewhere now.
You've never heard of this place that I don't know?
Yeah. Oh, you've never heard of the Ferrantes? Because I know about them. Okay. Like, it'd just be really annoying in a fun way.
I just want to look. I was just going to say I want to look at the Pope, but, you know, I don't know why. I took Latin for a year, so I've always wanted to talk to the Pope. just so I can, because they're the only people that still speak Latin like fluently. Not that I speak Latin fluently, but that was used to be one of my goals, is to talk to the Pope. But
It'd be kind of cool.
yeah.
My grandma, I think back before I was born, because like she was Catholic, went to Italy and went to the Vatican and saw the Pope. And there's like photos of that, and I'm like, whoa! Like I don't think they met, but she was like, there's a photo where he's there and she's there, so like they were in the same vicinity, and I'm like, wow.
That's amazing.
And also, that is what dreams are made of: going to Italy. Sing to me, Paolo. I am wearing the ColourPop Lizzie McGuire eyeshadow right
That's amazing. I know. I wore my corset today, just like corset pop thing, because I was like, I have to be a Renaissance person, and I keep like putting my hands right here, which is very awkward, but you know.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad my like name bar is so long. This is a little borderline. Like when I move my arms, it's like really gappy, and I'm like, oh.
I love your outfit, by the way. It's so cute.
Thank you. I felt very Lucrezia with like my little.
You are so Lucrezia. I did rope braids today, and I tried to curl my hair, but it all came out. So
yeah, I wasn't even gonna wash my hair today, so I'm like, this is the effort. The effort's gonna be in the objects, not in the like doing things. But yeah. What else did we talk about yet? I feel like there's so much, and yet, like, you know how this is maybe dark. You know how like what they say, like if you drink too much water, that you like drown your brain, basically. Like that's what I feel like. My brain is like drowning in Borgias right now because I've like consumed all of it at once.
Especially because I was reading Blood and Beauty while listening to the audiobook of Lucrezia Borgia.
Girl.
So like literally I'm like half of what I'm saying could be from like opposite books. Like I have no idea. And then I was watching the show and I'm like, I don't know. I could not tell you. Like so I just feel like I am a Borgia. I'm an honorary Borgia now.
Yeah, truly. I feel that too.
Which I feel like is the theme of our book club, is like we want to be completely immersed in that section of the Renaissance for those 3 months, or in our case the last 2 weeks, because that's when we do it.
Both procrastinated so much. We're like, oh, gotta make it happen, I guess. Let's just say it's a good thing I had already watched the first season of the Borgias. Like I had rewatched it before we had even like settled these plans. Otherwise I'd still be on season 2. Like, you know, I can't, but I have DVDs from the library for next month, or not next month, but the next quarter shows, which we won't talk about yet, but we will talk about soon before we go.
I was gonna say, do you want to like rank so all the Cesares from each of the books, all the Lucrezias and all the popes, like which one's your favorite?
Ooh, okay. Well, this is spicy. Now I'm like really thinking. I think my ranking, well, for Cesare, that's easy. So that's going to be show Cesare, followed by historical Cesare, followed by Blood and Beauty Cesare, because garbage can. Popes for Rodrigo, probably. I don't know. Historical, followed by show, followed by Blood and Beauty.
I feel like we're going to agree on all of these.
And then Lucrezia. This one's harder for me.
I know.
Because I'm like, I really love show Lucrezia, but I know she's not accurate to historical Lucrezia. And I don't want to disrespect her by being like, sorry, Holiday Granger did your life better than you. Like, that's rude. I don't know. Tell me your ranking of the Lucrezias.
I think I have to go with historical Lucrezia because, like, while I do like show Lucrezia, I do like that she's more realistic, I guess, which our point for Cesare is that we like him because he's not realistic.
Yeah.
I suppose. So historical, then show, but like they're very, for different reasons, they're basically both number one. And then Blood and Beauty, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's harder to say with her because she's more nuanced and I guess more different. I mean, not different, but not for better or for worse. Like
Yeah.
Cesare was different for the worse. So it's like, well,
Yes.
obviously, Blood and Beauty Cesare goes at the bottom.
Yeah.
But like Lucrezia, it's like you are all women in every version who I respect and admire, but I don't know.
And I mean, we haven't. Sorry, bye, Tara. Thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
bye.
I wanted to say that. But we haven't talked about motherhood yet, which I feel like is something we need to talk about because
So
we
true.
have our honorary mother with us today.
It's me.
That's you, our
Yeah.
motherhood specialist.
I mean, literally every woman we've talked about so far is a mother.
Yeah.
So, oh wow. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a weird it's like a weird time period to talk about motherhood because it's like one, like prenatal care doesn't exist, so it's like a dangerous thing to be
Yeah.
a mother in that time. And I like you could literally die of the plague. Of course it's a dangerous time. Hello. So that's one thing. And then it's just such like a game, where it's like
Yeah.
your child could be betrothed to somebody
Yeah.
and be like, I mean, like Lucrezia literally was even engaged to be married before she was even married at 14.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. She had so many like different engagements, and like I think reading the historical book definitely showed how much more of a pawn she was
mhm.
in like her father's like political game. And like I think in the show it's more like they want to make you empathetic somewhat to the family because you're like you need to root for some of the characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. And I think it was interesting looking at the nonfiction, um, versus the show, because in the show with her child, she's really like, I will literally do anything for my
Yeah.
son. Like I'll kill people, I'll do this, like I'll whatever. And then in the nonfiction, she just sort of, I'm sure she was sad about like leaving him, but I mean, maybe she just didn't have the option. Like it's probably it was
Yeah.
just like she didn't have the option of doing that, or we sort of get a more like redemptive arc for that section of her storyline, that she actually gets to be with her child.
Yeah, that I totally agree with. And I think also I found it very interesting how different her and Cesare's mother Venazza was between all of the three. Like it seems like in the nonfiction, I don't know if Sarah Bradford has something against her or if she really was not a good mom.
No.
But she was like, anytime she wrote to her, she was asking for money. And I was like,
I know.
dang, okay.
Yeah.
Whereas in the TV show, they really like tried to keep that relationship there, which I guess was not historically accurate, but it's a lot more, I think, palatable to an audience to see a teenage girl turning to her mom about marital issues than to her dad's mistress. So like maybe that's why.
Yeah. And
that could be it.
Yeah. I found it so interesting to learn that Venosa,
I don't know, yeah.
she was like more in it for like social climbing, it seemed, from the nonfiction, and like in the other two texts, I get visual text, I guess, is a show is. But yeah, she was much more about just like actually liking the Pope somewhat, and like caring about her family, and and I don't know. I think at least I'm probably conflating the two books that we read, but like maybe like part of the narrative that we get in both of the books is sort of like how much more the men were valued over the women, which is in the show, but I feel like we don't get that as like this is what was happening, like pounded into us. So I think maybe that's sort of like what it was, where like her sons were like the ones that she valued more than like her daughter, because she knew, I don't know what I'm saying, but like sort of that thing where that's sort of like what Lucrezia says too in the nonfiction, like she's much more sad about the deaths of her sons than she is about the deaths of her daughters.
Yeah, it's like that dark, like, you know, firstborn male heir sort of thing. It's like, that's the important child, and the rest are just like insurance.
I know.
And what's a daughter going to do other than cost you dowry money later? Like, okay, thanks. You gave birth to me. Love you too. Okay. Yeah, but it is an interesting dynamic to see the difference in those relationships. What was I gonna say too about moms? No, I can't remember. Dang it. But yeah, I just liked. I love a good variety of mom characters. You know, you got like the fierce mother, the like coddling mother, the like I'll do my best for you if I can, like all the different ranges. You know, because it's just like it's like any other character where there can be like a breadth of ways to go about it, and I liked that. And it was like, whew, I mean, not to go back to Katerina Sforza, but
I was just
iconic scene where she's like ranting and like lifting her skirt and being like, I can make 10 more sons, but then you like see her turn away and there's just like the tears silently streaming down her face. I'm like, girl, you're selling it. Like, where's her Emmy for that performance?
I know. So good. Yeah, and I think sort of connected with that, just Cesare's arc at the end of the show, where like, which is connected to Katerina because like in the end he ends up killing her son and just doing all these awful things, but like I think it's interesting in the show how they withheld that sort of side of him, and like even like seeing things, I had completely forgotten that he had that woman that he was in love with at the beginning, like the one
the nun one
husband, and and I'd completely, he has this like the plot lines for him are so much smaller scale in the beginning,
like a couple episodes, and then it's like bye.
Yeah, and then at the end it's like you really see he's turning into this sort of like political monster almost, which is more similar to his character in Blood and Beauty. So it's like they really waited until the end, and I think if we had gotten a next season, I think maybe that the route for him was sort of similar to Juan's, like sort of crazed, maniacal, like just doing awful things, because I feel like even with his possessiveness over, I'm doing the cloth, that's my cloth wiping blood hand gesture. But yeah, even with that, like, you're mine, even his line there was so iconic. Anyways, but yeah, like, just, I feel like it was definitely going in that direction that we see for him. So, and obviously with Katerina, like, oh my goodness, like that was like with her son and like everything, I just felt so bad for her.
Yeah, like season 4 I think would have been like the season of Dark Cesare. I agree. Edgelord Chester.
Emo.
He already was, but like really leaning into it for season 4. And also like, I guess more historically accurate for Katerina anyways, I guess they like took her prisoner in a very like respectful way, where she's like, you know, that kind of thing like they did with Lucrezia. It's like, you're our guest, but you're our prisoner. Like one of those. And then I guess she tried to escape, and that's when she became like a prisoner. Meanwhile, I'm like, putting her in a cage? Come on, guys. A cage? I did. She literally made me jump though when she tried to, was it the Pope? I think she tried to bite.
He's like, but I have teeth. I was like, ah!
But she was just being quirky. Oh, classic cat.
Little quirky. Yeah, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
And it was scarier because I was watching on my phone because I was trying to finish. So I had like upped the speed a little bit. So it's at like 1.25. And so instead of just like a little, it was like I was like, ah! It's just really sudden.
I don't know why I had to do it when you were doing it.
Yeah.
That was a bit extra of me, but I'm just kidding. Yes.
Yeah. I wish I could make GIFs because then I would make one of us going.
And wild. I just, the one scene that I really like the one scene where it was like the final like reconciliation between the Pope and like Cesare, and I thought that was so. The dialogue was really good and the acting was really good, and I was like, I just want them to like be father and son again.
Yeah. Isn't it funny when you like, I didn't think I cared, but I'm caring.
I know, exactly. I'm like, I don't really care, but I do.
Yeah, but you're selling it, so I'm listening. Yeah. And you know what I really liked? I guess this was both in Blood and Beauty and in the show, so kudos to both of them. I love that they took like some of the most like, and not necessarily iconic, but like some like really just like random true historical things. And they were like, and we're gonna just slip that in for you as a little Easter egg. Like if you know your history, you're gonna like this, like the skirt thing. And then also like the way that Juan was like torturing Caterina's son with like his arms behind him, like that was mentioned in Lucrezia Borgia, like that form of torture. And I was like, that's what Juan did.
Yeah. And I mean, the author did write some of the screenplays. So.
Yeah. She's like, here's what he's got to do. And in various ways that I think some were more successful than the others, the Chestnuts. Remember the Chestnuts? That managed to get in all three.
I know. I was like, do I really need to hear about this again with Chestnuts? I was like, please no, please don't.
So specific, but I mean, because it's like historically documented, it's like, yeah, I would include that too, but wow.
Oh my gosh, that's so like wild that actually happened.
Yeah.
I was like,
they're like,
oh my goodness.
Snack on these. Take off your clothes.
Yeah.
Have at it. Like, what?
All the popes and all these women. I was like, what? All the popes. All the popes. All of
the previous popes came back from the dead. They're like, this sounds saucy.
The ghost popes.
Oh, ghost popes. They sound like a little like team.
It sounds like a band.
Ghost Popes. It does. Wow. Are we starting a band called the Ghost Popes?
A musical theater band. That's our.
It's a niche genre, but we'll get some listens, I think.
Yeah. And we only write songs about the Borgias.
Yeah. Every time, I hate this. So on Instagram, every time I try to post about, doing something for this book club, I'm like, oh, let me see if they have the Borgias theme song. So I'll go to the little music thing and then I'll type in Borgias. And every time it's not there, but every time what is there is a song called, and I quote, "The Borgias are having an orgy." And I'm like, get out of here. This is what I'm looking for.
What is that song now? Now I want to know.
Literally, I'm going to play the beginning for you because it is a trip.
Okay.
Because every time I'm like, maybe this is what I want. And then I go, this isn't what I want. Okay, so there's a picture of me. Hey, me. Taking selfies before we started. So we'll just take a picture of the screen just so we can get the music thingy up. We're going to type in Borgias. I can't tell you how excited my roommate Katie is going to be to not hear me talk about the Borgias for once. Now that we're done with this live show, she's going to be like, thank God. And then I'm going to start talking about Elizabeth of York, and she's going to be like, no.
I literally don't have anyone to talk to about it. Talk about it too. Yeah.
I gotcha.
But, so you're my only outlet. So yes.
Buddy. Okay, you ready?
The Borgias are having an orgy. There's a Borgia orgy tonight. And isn't it sickening we've run out of strychnine? The gravy will have to have ground glass for thickening.
Yeah, not what you were expecting, right?
Oh my goodness.
So, I hope you enjoyed.
I can't believe that exists. Oh my
God. So, that's been on my mind often because I'm like, that stupid song. They can't have like the dramatic guitar music, but they have this. Riddle me this. Which, by the way, what a great theme song.
It is a great theme song.
I'm someone who always skips the preview, but then I'm mad when it skips the theme song. So I'm like, I just wanted to go dun 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 dun. Like, it's just so dramatic.
Long.
It's very long.
It's like the longest, and it has like, there's no like pictures of them like with their names. It's just like a lot of, I mean, there are some, but it's just a lot of like, I'm just like, no, like I need like a regular intro thing.
Yeah. I would love that though if it had like a sitcom intro to the Borgias, and it's like everywhere you look, and there's like Cesare with a sword. He's like, pretty fun.
Or like Lucrezia and Cesare are kissing and like like, Dad,
and the camera and just
like, just checking on you.
Yeah, it's literally like that scene from Mean Girls. Like you kids need anything? Bye.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. Wow. Do we have anything else we want to say about Borgias?
I had something and then I completely forgot it. So yeah.
Do we want to introduce all of our stuff for April, May, and June then? I was like, what are the months that are coming next? It couldn't be a calendar for some reason. Okay, so I'm going to look them up because I think I'm going to mess them up. But we are reading The White Queen.
Yes.
By Philippa Gregory. What is our nonfiction book called?
The Woodvilles.
Here, if I go to your video, it's all in the it's all in the description. I never made an announcement.
I know
video,
you were like, oh, I'll post my my announcement video in a couple weeks.
Yeah, once my computer's working. Here we are months later. I'm like, what book club? I don't need to announce anything, apparently. Where is it? Wow.
The Woodville by Susan Higginbotham.
Cool name. Great.
And
then, yeah, go for it.
We have a few things that two things. We have two things that we're watching, which is the White Queen miniseries on Stars. This will be my third time trying to watch it. What? So I've never gotten through it.
To be fair, I have seen, I think, the first episode or maybe two. But I think the reason I stopped watching was because it was like one of those, you know how Comcast sometimes has like a free watching like week where you can watch like HBO and everything without the subscriptions. I like had started it then, and then that week ended and I was like, guess I'll never watch it because I don't have Stars.
Yeah. But I'm glad you're getting a chance to watch it. I think what happened is the first time I watched it, it was after I had watched The White Princess, which is like a mini series. So I was like, oh, I'll go back and watch the first one. And then it wasn't similar to the first one. And I was like, oh, like it was just a bit slower. And then the second time was because I watched The Spanish Princess, which is the one after The White Princess. And then I tried again. But maybe this time, because I'm not watching those beforehand, I won't have any like preconceived notions about what they might be like.
Yes, I was just gonna look something up because I don't remember which one it is of those that you just mentioned. So keep talking about shows and I'll tell you in a second.
Okay. And then we're also watching The Hollow Crown, I think, if
Yes.
you get to
So,
it.
from my understanding, because I had a hard time finding this one at my library. So I think The Hollow Crown is like a series, like another kind of like a mini series, but
Mm-hmm.
each like episode is kind of like a movie length.
Okay.
I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry, that's so not Borgia of me. They never sneezed because they never wanted to be blessed. Okay. Um, my sneeze went
And then
away.
you
My bad joke scared the sneeze out of me.
You.
Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, so each one is like based off a Shakespeare play.
Okay.
So they're sitting under a pile of my clean folded laundry, but I think it's like Henry V, Richard II,
Richard III is the one we want.
Oh, Richard III? I don't even have that one. No.
Oh my goodness! Because I wrote down the Shakespeare play because I want to read the Shakespeare play.
Because that's the one with Elizabeth Woodville, which, by the way, is a great play. Lady Anne, is iconic.
I'm so excited.
One of the roles in Shakespeare
I'm so excited.
that I would love to play most, and she's like a minor character, and I would kill to play her. And also, it has one of the like the opening, the first scene is iconic. So it's literally like Richard III giving this monologue, and he's like, here's why I should be king, and my stupid brother's gonna be king, and da 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 da. And then his brother like shows up, and he's like, oh hey bestie, how you doing? Definitely not plotting your murder. Like, it's so good.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I love it. Okay, so what I was looking up. So we need Richard III. That's not the one I have.
Sorry.
I think I also have Henry IV, part 1 and 2. Do we need that?
I think we just needed Richard III. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, I'll find Richard III. Okay. But here's what I was looking for. And it is the White Queen, which has me so excited. Our boy David Oakes, aka Juan Borgia, is in it as George, Duke of Clarence. So,
oh my goodness, this is amazing. The worst one, the one we hate.
Our least favorite face. We're gonna be like, hey, like, I don't even remember anything about George, Duke of Clarence. I'm sure he's a fine guy, but I'm gonna be like, you don't like you.
I know.
Yeah. Wow. This is going to be fun, though. And so our next live show will be on your channel, Pages and Peaches, which is linked down in the description. So make sure you're already, if not already, subscribed to Helen, do it immediately. And we'll be talking about all of that, and it'll be in either late June or early July.
Yeah, because I might be traveling then if COVID allows. So we'll have to see. I'll be back in Canada or I'll be on the road. So one of the two.
Okay.
Yes.
It's going to be exciting. All right. Well, thank you for those of us. No, not for those of us. For those of you who joined us. Thank you to us for talking. Thank all of you. I'm losing it. So that'll be really exciting, and we will see you all then.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. I'm like, what's a Borgia way to say goodbye? I don't know.
We need to look up Italian.
Oh yeah. Ciao. Ciao.